Hello, I'm John Gertz, SETI theorist. Welcome today to the next of videos concerning the reinvention of SETI. These are thumbnails only. If you want the full arguments and ideas, I really recommend you go to my website at johngertz.com, check out my peer-reviewed published papers, and of course, when my book becomes available from Oxford University Press, also entitled Reinventing SETI, feel free to pick up a copy. Today I want to return to the predominant paradigm in SETI observations, which is looking for signals transmitted from stars, from faraway planets and other solar systems. We know what we would like ET to be doing. We would like ET to be sending an incredibly bright and brilliant signal, and do so persistently right at Earth, and do so for 1 billion or 2 billion years until we as humankind emerge as a technologically competent species. And at the same time, we want them to have a dedicated receiver always at the ready, pointed at Earth to receive our return message. And on top of it, we want them to send perfect decoding instructions so that we know what to do with their video. Or what to do with their transmission and how to understand it. Dream on. I don't think that's going to happen that way. As I've argued in other videos, ET's much better strategy is to send physical probes to our solar system. But let's assume that I'm wrong in that, and that ET does precisely that, sending bright signal persistently over 1 billion or 2 billion years with perfect decoding instructions and with a receiver at the ready all the time. Pop the champagne. That's the end of our troubles. Easy peasy from there, right? No, wrong. That's just the beginning of our problems of communicating with ET from a distance. So the first problem is that our sensory modalities may be different. We speak in words. They may speak in be like tummy waggles. They may speak in pheromes. They may communicate in echolocation. It may be almost impossible for us to decode their communication mode, especially if they have no idea of what ours is and have no idea how to modulate their transmission in such a fashion that it is understandable by us, their target. We see colors in the light spectrum to which we're used to. They may see colors only in infrared or ultraviolet. So our ways of sensing may be quite different. We may be interested in vastly different things. My dog and I sort of understand each other in a way. We've co-evolved, dogs and humans, for at least 10,000 years, and probably much longer than that. And yet, when my dog and I go on a walk and she gets absorbed in the smells of a certain bush, I have no idea what world of smells she's entering. And if she could describe it to me, maybe she has 50,000 different words for splotches of urine, which leads to the next problem. Maybe I'm not interested. Okay, actually, I really don't care about the subtle nuances between splotches of urine. Moreover, she sits there and listens to music with me, but I don't think she has any particular discrimination between Beethoven and the Beach Boys, or Haydn and hip hop, or whatever. I mean, we have different interests in life. We may have vastly different intelligences, and ET may have has to judge a priori how to modulate its message in a fashion that we can understand it to our level of intelligence. By way of simple example, Homo habilis, an earlier hominid, and we share a lot, I guess. We share the same body type and our genes and so forth, for the most part. Presumably we evolved from them. but we can't really communicate meaningfully with them. They would not be able to understand in the slightest way non-Euclidean geometry, Shakespeare, Beethoven, you name it. And we, on our part, wouldn't have a whole lot of use for their stone scrapers. So these are some of the reasons why I've argued previously that ET's better strategy is to send a physical probe, an artificially intelligent probe, to our solar system, surveil us, study us, learn our languages, and be able to finally communicate with us in a fashion that we are capable of understanding. From a distance, that becomes virtually impossible. Ultimately, we also have the problem of distance. If the star that's trying to communicate with us, or the planets, the civilization on a planet or on a star, say of 1,000 light years away, that's a to and from of 2,000 years. How do you have an intelligent conversation where the call and response time is 2,000 years? Again, if a probe is in our own solar system, we can communicate in near real time. They may be light seconds or light minutes away. Then the question becomes, how do we exactly communicate to ET our culture and values? Presumably, we can show them our math. We can go, dot, dot, space, dot, dot, space, longer space, dot, 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 2 + 2 = 4, okay? From that kind of simple, building blocks, we can probably get to E = mc² fair enough, fairly soon. But what does E = mc² mean, and how do we communicate that? We have to understand at least 2 of the 3 parameters to understand what the equation's all about. We either have to understand mass, the m, we have to understand the E, the energy, we have to understand c, the speed of light. So how do we communicate what mass is, what gravity is, and so forth? A SETI theorist by the name of Brian McConnell had a bright idea that maybe we just send them computer code that simulates gravity, and that way we can show them what we mean by gravity. That seems to make some sense to me, but how you go from these kinds of building blocks all the way to Shakespeare, the Bible, the Upanishads, and Monet and Beethoven, I'm not really sure. It's harder to talk about love and altruism and peace than it is to talk about math and chemistry. And that limitation becomes extremely important because at the end of the day, ET is vastly more advanced than us. If what we want to get to is to tell them that we know that E = mc², they're going to shrug their shoulders and say, what's up with that? Duh, of course E = mc². We've heard that one a million times before. What else you got? Well, the what else we got is really our culture, because they've got all the science they could possibly need. We're not going to teach them a damn thing. But it's in our culture that we have something unique to offer, and we have no viable way to really communicate that, at least very easily. Now, I have to say, with a caveat here, that very little work has been done to date on the subject of message construction. If we got a lot of very clever people together with the right disciplines to try to begin to decipher or begin to construct and come up with ideas on how to communicate these concepts, it might be all to the good. I wish that some of our SETI budget, as limited as our SETI budget is, would nevertheless go into the direction of message construction. There has been some work on message construction, mostly by a few SETI theorists on their own dime, so to speak, but it really needs a much more comprehensive effort. Another problem of communication is one of understanding intentionality. This is where we really, really have to be careful. we could be playing checkers to their three-dimensional chess. I'm reminded of the classic Twilight Zone TV series uh, where aliens come to Earth, and their guide, or the Bible, so to speak, is entitled "How to Serve Man." And in fact, they cure cancer and solve our ecological problems, and on and on. And as we go onto their spaceship to visit their wonderful planet, it's suddenly discovered that How to Serve Man is actually a cookbook. Well, we have to be extremely careful of any message that ET sends. Perhaps ET will bribe a single researcher with bitcoins that it's purloined from our internet, if only that researcher will create or recreate their biome in his laboratory and infect the entire world. In fact, just whatever message they send us may be embedded with computer viruses that'll take over our internet, threaten us. If we don't do X, Y, or Z on their behalf, that they'll shut down everything that depends on the internet. So we have to be extraordinarily careful of their intentionality. If we send back a signal to them that is a strong signal, which actually we cannot do at this point, we don't have the transmitter to do that, but it may provoke a preemptive attack. They may figure that we're a fearsome race. If we do the opposite and we send a modest signal, which is all we're capable of anyway at this point, we may convey our weakness and invite an aggressive attack. The same holds true if we send the largest prime number that we know of to show them the competence of our computers, only to demonstrate the feebleness of our computers by what a small number that prime number is. So all of these kinds of problems actually lead one, if one thinks enough about it, to the point of view that really the safest strategy for ET as for us, because they may run into a superior civilization just as we will, would be just to shut up. That there's no upside in this interstellar communication, and that in itself may be a solution to the Great Silence, or otherwise sometimes called Fermi's paradox. Thank you for listening today, and again, you can learn more about me and my work at johngertz.com. See you again soon.